Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Infinite Crypto Cruisers. Hey there, folks. My name is Brad Varnell, and this is the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel. And today is Trader Tuesdays, October 26th, 2024, Tuesday here in the United States. Thank you all so much for being here. Those of us that are celebrating Thanksgiving are gearing up for some special time with our families, eating some turkey and getting ready for the holidays, Christmas next month. Exciting and fun time to, be alive. Some of us are looking forward to spending time with our family more than others. But for those of us that like crypto, it should be a pretty good holiday, with, some good conversations, and a lot of the things that we've been working so hard for are coming to fruition. And it's getting to be pretty hard for your friends and family to deny that you actually knew what in the world you were talking about when you've been investing in cryptocurrency over the last few months or the last few years. So good morning. Glad to have you all here. Hope you're doing fantastic. Eric, always a pleasure, my friend. God bless you. Hope you and your family are doing fantastic, brother. Daniel, hello. Hope you are ready to get rolling today. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Looking forward to getting that gains pad the rest of the way set up. And then we got Mr. Pablo Noodles. Good morning. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Hope you are doing fantastic. I'm not sure, over on your side of the pond, if Thanksgiving is something that you guys mess around with or not. I'm not sure. If you are, I hope you have a great time with your family and stuff, but I'm not 100% sure if that's a holiday that you guys celebrate over there. So what in the world are we going to talk about today? I don't know. You guys got any ideas for me? I'm a little bit at a loss. No, not really. You know me, I've always got something to say, but I'm trying to really figure out the best use of our time this morning. I think one of the quickest things that we can do is, hop into BYDFI and kind of show you what's going on a little bit in there. But I kind of talked a little bit about it on Monday, where I had some, okay, cool. So you got half the family is celebrating and half is not. Okay, cool. Makes sense. Hey, good morning, Deadwood. Welcome, brother. We were just talking about Thanksgiving, man. I hope you've got something fun lined up with some people that you care about, that you're going to be hanging out with some of your loved ones. I'm actually going to be going over to my mother-in-law's house, get to see my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law, Zach, and my two sister-in-laws. And I want to give a special shout out. I've been forgetting to do this. So I have a 11-year-old niece that is getting ready to turn 12 years old at the end of this month. I want to say it's December 28th. And she's an incredible young lady. And I've been told that she's my biggest fan. It's pretty awesome. She's been watching all of my live streams and just like sucking up my content. It's pretty cool. The last time I was over there about a week or so ago, she was so excited that I was coming over because she loves the YouTube channel. And when I quizzed her a little bit to see if she was actually watching, and I said, hey, what do I say in the morning? She, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. She knew what I said. And so I told her I was going to give her a shout out on the YouTube channel. And so Bella, I love you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. And here is your shout out, young lady. I will see you on Thanksgiving. So, this is a fun time of the year. It's a little different. My mom passed away back in 2019. My dad passed away a year and a half ago. So this is just the second Thanksgiving without my dad. And it was my dad and that side of the family that I was the closest to and who I spent the most time with on holidays. So it's a little bit of a shift for me, and still kind of, getting used to being without my dad, even after a year and a half. For those of you that have lost parents, it just doesn't ever, it doesn't ever go away. you still have your moments, man. I still break down and cry every once in a while thinking about my dad, and just, I really wish that he was here for this. He was the first person and one of the only people, other than my wife and of course, my kids, but they kind of had to just go along with whatever I was doing. But my dad was the one person that got excited about crypto way back in 2017. I'll never forget. We found out part of the reason that I got back in crypto was my buddy that had been bugging me, trying to get me into crypto. We had tried this investment back in 2016 when Bitcoin was about $500, and I had bought some Bitcoin on Uphold, and I had sent it over to this platform, and it turned out, unfortunately, that the platform was a Ponzi, and I lost my Bitcoin. But at the time, I didn't understand any of it, so I was just buying Bitcoin through my checking account on the Uphold platform, and I didn't really understand what Bitcoin was. I didn't understand why this company wanted paid in Bitcoin rather than fiat. And, so that was kind of one of my first experiences with cryptocurrency, was getting probably, I think I ended up investing a couple $1,000s by the time everything was said and done. But long story short, my buddy, came to me in early 2017 and started telling me about Ethereum when it was $9, and really wanted, was doing everything he could to get me involved in crypto in 2017. And I bought a little Bitcoin, I bought a little Ethereum, I bought a little Litecoin. Back when I first got started, those were the only 3 tokens on Coinbase. So you had a Coinbase account, and those were your 3 choices. You could buy Bitcoin, you could buy Ethereum, or you could buy Litecoin. And, so I bought a little bit of all 3. They went up some. I needed the money. I sold them, took the money, spent the money. And long story short, come about, I don't know, September, October of 2017, my buddy called me back and said, hey, remember that dust you had in your account? It's probably worth a couple $100s now. And sure enough, he was right. The little teeny bit of Bitcoin that hadn't gotten, transferred out because it was dust, $5 or $10 worth of Bitcoin. At that point, Bitcoin was $2,000. So it had, 20x from the 500 I was buying it at. That little bit of dust that I had left in my Uphold account was $200. And I took that $200 and I bought XRP at 25 cents. And that was really how I got started and got involved in crypto. And my dad was right there with me. He also had a little bit of money left over in that account, in his Uphold account. And he also bought some Ripple. And long story short, we got to ride Ripple from, 25 cents all the way up to about $3.50 during the peak of that bull market. It didn't last very long, and I didn't have enough money in that bull market to change my life, but I sure had enough to get excited about crypto and seeing what it, could do. I'd never forget, I was over at my mom's house visiting one day, and all of a sudden Ripple just went on a terror, and I was looking at my portfolio, and back then I just had, a few hundred to like $1,000 or so in Ripple. But it just went up like that day. It almost doubled in the couple hours that I was just there, watching her, kind of like, an XLM, like what XLM, kind of like what XLM did a few days ago, where it just ripped and, went up, 100x in one day. Well, that's what Ripple did right there at my mom's house. And I've been pretty much full-time crypto ever since, guys. Maybe that's one thing I can mention real quick before we get over to the platform is, I was always a part-time employee and a full-time looking for freedom. Whatever it was that I was doing for myself was what I was full-time at, and I did the job. I went and put in the 40 hours a week or whatever I needed to do to pay the bills, but that's not where my mind was at. The whole time I was dealing poker or doing whatever I was doing, for the most part, I was thinking about what I was going to do when I got off work and what I was going to invest in, how I was going to educate myself. And I tell my son and my young editor, who are, 18 and 19 all the time, that they gotta work on getting that mindset. My editor is an incredible young man. He does a fantastic job, and I love him to death. But he also works for the church that I go to, and sometimes I think he gets it's a little bit on the other side for him. I think he's thinking about church, and I think he's thinking about going out with his friends and doing life. And the editing and the YouTube channel is it's there, but it's not necessarily number one. Right now I keep trying to tell him, hey, you have an opportunity to make more money in the next 3 to 6 months than you're probably going to make in 10 years doing the stuff that you're doing right now. And so for all of you, that is kind of a lesson out there. Right now is the time to be, obsessive. If people say, hey, all you ever talk about is crypto, you're on the right path. You're not doing anything wrong. People talk about balance. Oh, you need to have balance. You got to spend this much time with your kids, this much time with your wife, this much time, this, and this. The truth is, balance is a myth. The way balance works, folks, is you're going to be more balanced in certain areas of your life at certain times. So right now is an area where you probably should be way, way, way out of balance. And you should be spending almost all of your time, thought, and energy on creating freedom in your life. And then once you got the freedom, then you have the time. So this may or may not be a popular opinion. I don't want to turn this into a Monday, but my dad owned his own business, so he was able to be there for me for, all of my sporting events and all of the, choir concerts and all of the different stuff that I did. And while that was amazing, my dad also kind of struggled financially when I was a kid. We would go through feast and famine because he owned his own business and things would be really good. And then there would be times when it wasn't as good. And my dad always had this dream of financial freedom. He's the one that always told me lots of people have time, lots of people have money, very few people have both. And he wanted that financial freedom and he never quite got it, especially when I was a kid. And so although I appreciate him being there for everything, I think it would have been okay with me if my dad would have been absent for a short period of time and then created the wealth that he needed to be there so that he could be there for all of the time and then really, do it right. Like I remember, no offense to my family. And if you really love, camping, hey, this is not offensive, I'm not trying to be offensive here, but I remember as a kid, instead of going to, flying on a plane to Disneyland or Disney World or going on, one of the reasons I think I love the Bahamas so much is because I didn't get to go someplace like that until I was 47 years old or whatever, 46, 47, somewhere in there. I'd never been to any tropical paradises. I still have never been to Hawaii. So my family's vacations when I was a kid during summertime, we would load up the truck and we would go camping. And there was this place called Mount Baker, and we would go camping at Mount Baker. And I'm not kidding you, when we were young, before we had enough money to have a camp trailer and stuff like that, I'm not kidding you, my dad would load up his truck. He had a pickup truck. He'd load up his truck. He would use our mattresses as the sideboards so that he could tie our mattresses in up against the rails and make it high enough to where he could stuff all of our stuff. And we'd be driving down the road like the Beverly Hillbillies, and we would get to the camp spot. We would, put up all of the tents. It was rainy in Washington, so we'd have to put up tarps, and then you'd dig trenches around your tent so that the water hopefully wouldn't get to your tent, and we'd have tarps, and we'd literally sleep on the mattresses from our beds in our tents and then pack it all up and do it again. And then, when I got a little bit older, they had a little bit more money. They bought a nice camp trailer that my dad pulled behind his truck, which was nice. But to this day, I'm not a huge camper. And I think why is because I just enjoy, I like a little bit nicer things in life. I don't mind camping. We go to Sun Lakes, Eastern Washington, but we stay in a mobile home or a cabin. That's my kind of camping. So I spend all day going, going to the lake and doing a lot of fun stuff. Snake hunting. Last year when we went there for my dad's memorial, we found a bunch of rattlesnakes. I took some pictures and stuff. We, had a way of corralling the rattlesnakes, and we didn't hurt anything. We didn't hurt any of the snakes, but we, played with these rattlesnakes and watched them and observed them and let them go. Like, I love that part. I love being out in the water. I love being at the lake. But I ain't going to lie, man, it was nice to come home and be able to take a hot shower and to be able to stay in a mobile home that had air conditioning. And my wife and I shared the king suite in the place, so one of the bedrooms had a great big king bed. So that's kind of a little bit more, my style of camping. And then now going to the Bahamas and going to, nicer places. So my point though is, folks, I don't want anybody here to grow up and raise children that don't know you. I don't want your children, when they're 18 or 15 or 20 or in that older range, when they ask, what's one thing that you wish, mom and dad had done different. And I don't want them to say, I wish they would have spent more time with me. I wish they would have been there for my dance recitals or my choir performances or my football games or my baseball games or whatever. I don't want that. But folks, there's a lot of people watching this that probably do not get to go to a lot of those things because their boss tells them that you got to be at work. And when it comes to choosing between going to the football game or keeping your job and paying your bills and making sure that there's food on the table, there's sacrifices that have to be made. So all I'm saying is, for a short period of time, let's just go all in on the thing that will give us the freedom to never have to say no again. How cool would it be if your kids are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old to just spend the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months all in? You still probably can go all in and still be there for most of the stuff. But if you have to miss a little bit of something, it's okay. Once again, balance. If you've got a good woman or a good man, they're going to understand that you're trying to create a special life that 99% of the population will never have. And most spouses, especially if they believe in you and they trust you to go make it happen, are going to give you the leeway to be obsessive. They're going to be okay with you being on your computer at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And when they say, hey, babe, is it, it's time to go to bed? And you say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't go to bed right now. I've got something that I'm doing. I'll be in a little while. Most people are going to be somewhat understanding as long as they believe in what you're trying to accomplish and that you're going to not have to do that, for the rest of your lives. So what do we got here? Daniel has got a Bitcoin story. He says, lovely Bitcoin story. Once I had a high school teacher who sold his Bitcoin in early 2017. Guess he would be regretting it by now. Yeah, but Daniel, that's like the story of our lives. When Bitcoin is 100,000, 150,000, 250,000, 300,000, I even had a guy that I was talking to, a pretty smart guy, that gave me a thesis as to why Bitcoin could potentially even run up to $500,000, $600,000, $800,000, while the new administration is in office. And I'm not saying that that's impossible. I'm not betting all my chips on that. But I mean, I'd be extremely thrilled at 150, even 250,000 Bitcoin. Be absolutely unbelievably life-changing. But my point is, folks, if you sell your Bitcoin at 150K, 250K, and you're going to wish in 10 years that you had your Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's probably going to be $5 or $10 million a Bitcoin. And so that's part of what we're learning here is, yeah, I understand we got to sell this stuff at some point in time. We got to live a little life. We got to reward our wives and our kids and the people that have trusted us and have believed in us, and give them some of that sweet stuff. Get them to the Bahamas or get them to Disney World, get them to those places. But remember, folks, when we sell at the peak of this bull market or towards the peak, the goal is not to just take that money and then just go right off into the sunset. Most of us, even if you end up with a few million, probably won't have enough to necessarily last you the absolute rest of your life. I mean, I'd probably need, I don't know, 10, 20, 50 million to just be able to say, hey, if I never made another penny, I'd have enough money for the rest of my life. You know, hard to tell for sure. I mean, you could scrape by. If you had 2, 3, 4 million, you could probably get it invested and make enough money to not have to work anymore. But would you be able to really enjoy your life, have the car that you want to have the house that you want to have, do the vacations that you want to have? So my point is, folks, part of the goal is to cash out enough at the top to where you can set it some aside and really start enjoying your life. But you also want to have some standing by so that you can take advantage of the next bull market. Because guess what? There's going to be another bull market. You know, we're going to do this here for however long we do it for, but come, you know, 2029 or 28 Bitcoin will have again. And then we'll have, you know, wait, you know, through a bunch of, you know, 28. And then towards the end of 28 going into 29, we'll probably have another big uptrend depending on what has happened here in the world over the next 4 years. But you want to be ready for that next bull market also, and have taken some of the profits that you're making now and put it into that. And that's one of the reasons that this trading, I think, is so important, is because we're going to make a lot of money on the way up, but we're also going to learn some strategies that can help us make money on the way down. You know, in the stock market, the most financially savvy, wealthiest people in the world make money in both directions. You know, there's so many different ways, you know, covered calls and puts and, you know, options and so on and so forth. There's so much financial literacy in the world that the average person doesn't have that the wealthy does. The other thing that the wealthy does too is, you know, Daniel, I will agree with you that he's probably sad that he sold it, because there are ways where you can protect your Bitcoin, protect your assets, and you know, put yourself in a position to where you can borrow against your assets for your life, so that you don't create any capital gains taxes. If you're borrowing against your assets, you don't create any capital gains taxes. And then, you know, I think, you know, Sam Price, Crypto Lifer, said something the other day that made a lot of sense, that if through these trading strategies, let's say that you take 1 Bitcoin and over the next 6 months through these trading strategies, you were able to 10x your Bitcoin to 10 Bitcoin. Would you really be that sad if you just held those 10 Bitcoin all the way through the next, you know, bear market and it went down by 50 or 60%? I mean, think about it. Like right now, okay, we'll just do the math. Let's say that you had 1 Bitcoin worth 100,000 today. At the peak of the bull market, you have 10 Bitcoin that are worth, say, let's say that Bitcoin just went to 200,000. So you would have 10 Bitcoin worth 200,000. So you turned your 1,000 into 2 million. And now let's say that you just hold your Bitcoin straight through. You don't ever sell a penny of it. And Bitcoin drops by 50 or 60%. If it dropped by 60%, your 2 million would still be worth $800,000. And you have 10 Bitcoin still for the next cycle. And that's one of the ways that you can create some generational wealth. So if you had that 2 million in Bitcoin, you could have borrowed 2, 3, 4, 500,000 against it for life and kept the 10 Bitcoin. There's a lot of places where you can park your Bitcoin and you can earn 5, 8, 10% a year on your Bitcoin, and in some cases earn more Bitcoin. So you could be earning 8% a year more Bitcoin during the bear markets. So once again, I'm not saying to not sell towards the peak, but I am saying let's get educated and really have a good plan. I think that your altcoins are going to get sold. So like, I love my sponsors of the channel, and if they're listening to this, I'm sorry if this bugs you, but like, I'm not going to be holding a 100x token down through the bear market, because I know that most of these tokens that 25, 50, 100x during the bull are going to also go all the way down and maybe even lower than their all-time lows during the next bull market or bear market. Like you'll see over and over and over and over tokens that are down 95, 97, 99%. So I'm not going to hold those tokens. I'm going to sell out of those tokens and put my money into much safer things. Now I'll come buying back in during the next bear market as things bottom out. But tokens like Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum are potentially the type of tokens that you could consider just holding. And maybe even something like Solana, and maybe a couple of the other top 10 tokens, or tokens that you might consider maybe just making kind of long-term holds out of them, ebbing and flowing, and really creating the long-term wealth. Can you imagine what it'd be like to have 5 or 10 Bitcoin in 10 or 15 years? I know a lot of you that are watching this show are younger men, that are in their 30s and, even, their 40s or 50s like me. I mean, if you're in your 50s, God willing, you're hopefully going to make it around till, 65, 75, 85 years old. So if you feel like you've got 15, 20, 30 years left on this earth, wouldn't it be cool even if you just had one Bitcoin? Michael Saylor says one Bitcoin should be worth anywhere from $3 million to $15 million in the next 10 to 15 years. So wouldn't it be cool to have $100,000 in Bitcoin that you just held and you just never worried about the price? And then all of a sudden, 10, 15 years from now, you're sitting on, $15 million just from the 100,000 in Bitcoin that you held. Let me see here. Chad Navy. Hey, welcome to the show. I don't believe I've ever seen your name pop up. I'm not sure if you're the Chad that I know, but I definitely appreciate you being here. Let me see here. Been with Insights, and it made me a good amount when the move started. Didn't do anything, just set it up and let it go. Yeah, Insights is a great company. If I remember correctly, that is partially, man, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. I know that Peter is good friends, I believe, with the person that owns Insights. I can't not think of the guy's name that owns Insights right now. But I actually have his phone number in my phone. I could probably look through. I'm not sure if it's Dave, but long story short, yeah, Insights and some of those companies like that can be a absolute, yeah, Doug, thank you, Doug. Those can be an absolute blessing in this type in these markets, and those can be a blessing in the bear markets too. So Insights is definitely an incredible company that I have a lot of respect for. Good morning, Ben, or excuse me, good morning, Tim. Afternoon for you. Thank you for reminding everybody. Yeah, folks, I was going back and looking, like one of my recent live streams, I forget, at the end of it, we had, I don't know, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 people on the live stream, or 80 views, and we had like 9 or 10 likes, folks. It's totally free to hit that thumbs up button. So please do that, man. It's huge for the channel, the YouTube algorithm. If there's 30 of you watching and this thing's got 30 likes on it, the odds that the YouTube algorithm pumps it out to a bunch more people while it's live and then even after the live stream is over is huge, compared to if there's 30 of you on here that are absolutely loving it, but only 5 or 10 of you hit the like button. YouTube doesn't know that you're sitting there loving it. The only way that YouTube knows that you love it is if you hit that like button. So thank you for the reminder, Tim. Yeah, I don't know how many people are on here right now, but however many there are, there should absolutely be that many likes, please. Even hit the dislike button. The dislike button is just as good for the algorithm because you hit something. So if you're not liking the stream, you're not liking my stories, you're not liking not liking it here today, just hit the dislike button. That still helps me out. Appreciate you guys being here. So we've been, spent a little bit too much time, and we ain't talked about any trading yet. Part of the reason for that, folks, is this little dip that we've had has me confused. And when I ask, the title of the video is, Bitcoin going to 80K or is it going to 100K? And when it really comes down to it, man, I got to admit that I don't know. I wish I did. Man, wouldn't it be amazing if I knew which direction it was going to be going? If I knew whether it was going to 80 or 100, we could make all of the money that we needed to make. Like, if we knew it was going to 80, man, it'd be easy to set up some shorts, leverage the heck out of them, put a few $1,000s in them, and absolutely, just clean up. What I do know is that this trading strategy that I am employing, I think, is still powerful, because I still think that we're close enough to the bottom that we have a long ways to wiggle. So once again, folks, I want to highlight this link, and I want to thank our sponsor, BYDFI. This is an incredible exchange that is really grown to be part of the Infinite Crypto family. And not only if you go join through this link here, will you get an opportunity to be a part of a $500 little trading bonus that's just for those of us that have joined BYDFI through my link, or just those of you. I'm not in the contest, but they're giving away $500 to 5 of you that's split up. So it'll be like $125 and $100 and so on and so forth. The top 5 people are going to win a little bit of money. And for the 5 of you, or for not the 5 of you, but for those of you that already have signed up with a BYDFI account through my link, you're already going to be able to participate in this also. So now is a great time. If you've been holding off and you haven't got your BYDFI account created or funded, I definitely highly recommend throwing some money in there and kind of following along with the trading that I'm doing. And so with that, let me run over. I want to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what's been happening. I want to make it super clear here, folks, that I am a novice trader, that I am just learning, and that nothing that I'm talking about here should be construed as financial advice. I literally have had this idea for probably a year or two, and I just never implemented it until recently, when BYDFI reached out and talked to me about, wanting to sponsor the channel, and I knew I had a solid platform that as an American, I could do leverage trading on. I decided to give this strategy a shot, and it's working very, very well so far, folks. That does not mean that it's going to continue to work. And once again, what I'm doing really takes advantage of the bull market. It really takes advantage of things when it's going up. But as you can see here, Bitcoin is down to 93.7. You can see here it peaked all the way up to 94.7 not that long ago. So it's down about $1,000. And this is where, I really just do not know if this thing is going to run from 93 down to, 91. I know that 88,000 is another key level. So we could be looking at Bitcoin going down, all the way down to 88,000. And that's going to definitely drag some of the altcoins down that we are looking to, make some money off of. And so it's a really tough spot to be in, not really knowing. We kind of need Bitcoin to let us know definitively which direction it's headed. And then once it crosses through, breaks through the resistance to the upside or breaks through the resistance to the downside, then we can kind of play the game. Now, I will mention, if I do decide to short the market, that's going to be slightly different than my longing the market strategy. So with the longing of the market, I'm looking to, put trades in and ladder them in so that I can handle some downside and then run long ways up in the market. So I want to show you guys right now, I'm out of all of my trades, and that's not necessarily 100% because I was worried about the market dumping. I might have got a little bit lucky. I was telling a story on Monday about controlling your emotions, and I was talking about this long that I'd put in with 25x leverage that didn't go my way. And unfortunately, I kind of panicked and was trying to get some funds over. And so I closed out all of my long positions. Now you can see here that I closed these long positions out in some nice profit. Like I had this long here. This was $100 trade on ADA here with 10x leverage. 10x leverage, it ran from 55 cents all the way up to I think it was at 75 or 80 or 90 cents, somewhere in that ballpark. And I was able to close that trade out for $835 profit. This $30 one, I don't even remember what that was. That was a different another small little ADA trade. Oh, I think that's just the sell I see here. It sold. Oh, for goodness sakes, dogs, really? Hey! Excuse me, guys. Give me 1 second. Well, the good news, folks, is that I don't got to worry about anybody getting within 100 yards of my house without me knowing about it. But that happens pretty rarely. So, but of course, you know, one starts barking and all of them got to start barking. But going back through, so these are, you know, some of the trades that I closed out. But I do want you to just see here, you know, that everything in the green is a winner and everything in the red is a loser. And this just goes back until November 12th. It's only going back from the 26th to the 12th. So it goes back for basically 2 weeks. I could go a little bit longer than that, I think. But you can see my strategies have been working pretty well. You know, I made $57. I made 28. I lost 7. I lost 67. I lost 529. And then, you know, on this, you know, so we had the ICP that we were doing. And we made a few dollars on the ICP last week. And then, you know, get up here. I did a trade on HBAR and made $80. Made a trade on Ripple, made $427. And most of these are $50 to $100 trades. This ADA trade here where the profit of $836 was $100. And then this 1,492 that sticks out like a sore thumb was the trade that I made on Saturday, kind of in a panic, and I goofed it all up. And I talked about that on Monday. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it here, but what I will show you is if you go up a little bit later that day, I did things right. And this was also an XLM trade that I made $1,357 on. So I got back my $1,194 plus almost $200 in profit. And so this sea of green shows me that I'm onto something, and that I've got some, that you know, that there's what I'm doing is, you know, is working. And so I want to continue to share with you guys, you know, what I'm up to. So really quickly, let's run over to CoinGecko, pull up that tab. Let me change my view too. I don't like this view where you guys can't see me at all. I like to at least be down in the corner where you guys can at least see my head a little bit. Let's get over here to CoinGecko, share the CoinGecko tab, and make sure that I'm on it, that everything is good. So yeah, so we're here on CoinGecko. So one of the things that I'm looking at is if Bitcoin were to go from, you know, 93 down to 88, or even down into the high 70s, you know, what would that do to the altcoins? And so one of the things that I'm looking at here, hopefully you can see my screen, but like, you know, Ripple was just a 50-cent token, even a little bit lower than that, but call it 50 cents for a long time. And it ripped all the way up. I want to say it was as high as $1.60, maybe even slightly higher than that. So $1.60. Cardano, I know for sure Cardano was sitting at, you know, 35 cents not very long ago. So we're talking about, you know, and it peaked up over $1. So it did, you know, about a 3x. So it's got a ways to potentially come down. You know, Stellar Lumens is another one sitting here at 44 cents that, you know, went from 10 cents not that long ago. And, you know, Polkadot, here's another one. You know, Polkadot's one of my favorites, and Chainlink. Both of these have, you know, pretty much, you know, 2x or more. Like Chainlink, you could have bought for $6, $7 not that long ago. Polkadot went all the way down. I think Polkadot was $3.70 right before the event on November 5th. Like if you go back to like November 3rd. And so what I'm looking at here is it's done about 100x. It's, or not 100x, you know, a double up. It's gone up 100%. You know, so it's doubled from about $4 to about $8. It was as high as about $10. So let's take a quick peek at Polkadot. So something else that I realized when you're doing these leverage trades, one of the things that I realized too, folks, that is important to remember is, let's say, let me pop up to full screen real quick, and then I'll come back to this because this is important. You know, one of the things that I talk about all the time is that I am not a professional trader and that I'm still learning. So one of the things that I didn't have my aha moment until just a handful of days ago was, let's say that you put in a $100 trade and Polkadot is sitting at $8. Well, you could take, 10, and you're doing 10x leverage. So 10 times, 10% of $8 is 80 cents. So you can pretty much figure that the stop loss or your liquidation price on that Polkadot trade is going to be about $7.20. Now, what I failed to take into consideration at first was, let's say that it gets down to 730 and you're a little worried that it's going to get liquidated, or you're going in and you're staggering your trades like I'm going to show you. So let's say that you go put in a trade at 725 for $100. Well, 10% of 725 is 72.5 cents. So if you take 725 minus 72.5 cents, that's going to give you your new liquidation price, except that now you're only basically, now you're putting in 200. Now you've got 200 in the trade. So that second 100 doesn't lower the liquidation price by the full 10%. And I haven't done the science on it, so I don't know exactly where the sweet spot is, but I'm going to guess that realistically, if you want to take the trade all the way from 7.25 down the whole 72 cents, you probably have to do more like $125 on the second trade to make up for the fact that now that you're diluting the trade to 200. So if you guys see what I'm saying, this hurt me a little bit on that trade where I lost the $11.95. I put $250 in on that trade, and then as it was moving, it moved down fast, and it was at 25x leverage. So as it was moving down quick, I was hitting my liquidation prices fast. So I got the next $250 trade in underneath, just above my stop loss, and I was fine. But in my mind, I was thinking that $250 was going to lower my next liquidation price to, let's just say I thought it was going to lower it to 10. But because I had done 250 and 250, it really only, my liquidation price was at, call it 1050 instead of 10. And the token was at 11 and moving down rapidly. So as it got down to 1050, in my head, I'm thinking, why didn't this lower it all the way down to 10? But I'm too busy getting another $250 trade in to think about it too much. But I get the $250 trade in at 1050, and I'm thinking, wait a second, 25% or like 25% would be 4% or 4 cents per dollar. So 4 cents times $10 would be 40 cents. My next liquidation price should be all the way down at like 10.10. And my next liquidation price was only down at like 10.30. And so and long story short, I ran out of funds and that trade got liquidated. But part of the reason was, if I would have put 250 in on the first trade and then put in 300 or 325 on the second trade, I would have had a lower liquidation. But the trouble with that, I've learned, is now when we talked about, hey, if you've got $400 to put into a token, you're going to do $100, $100, $100, and $100. That's not going to actually get you all the way down to the liquidation price that I thought that it was when we first started doing this. Now, knock on wood, I have not had any of my trades that I used 10x leverage on come down and hit more than one of my stop losses. And because we were doing this towards the bottom of the market, like even if you were in these trades at like $4 or $5 for Polkadot, you're still 100 miles above your liquidation price. But my point is you might want to say, instead of having $400 to do, 100, 100, 100, and 100, maybe you might want to up it to 500 and, maybe do 75 on the first trade instead of 100, and then do 105, 110, 125, 130, or whatever, divide your 500 up, but give yourself just a little bit more room. Now, having said that, once again, if you do 100 at $8, say, then you do another 100 at 725. Your new liquidation price might not be all the way down to, say 650, but it's still going to be probably like 675, which is still a pretty good run down from 7.25 down to 675 is still 50 cents, which is still like 8%. It's still a chunk. And then if you ladder something in at 650, that's going to take it down, say, to like 630. And so you could still go from $8 all the way down probably to around, $5 or so just with $100. So everybody's going to have to do it slightly different, but I wanted to Giorgio, you got me distracted. What does it say? Hey man, heard the moment you said for the like button. I think that a better camera would make it possibly happen. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm working on the camera situation. When I do my deep dives, I've got a different camera, and we use the recording from the main camera that sits above me instead of this camera. It's actually, this camera is not that bad of a camera. I've just been having a lot of problems with my internet. And so if you're seeing some lag on your end, like I notice here, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Like my hand is there's definitely some lag. And so that probably does make this a little hard to watch. I apologize for that. And so, yeah, that's something that we gotta get figured out. I don't know if I'm going to need to go through a new internet company or what I'm going to have to do to get that situated. But, hopefully, it's not making it unbearable to watch this. If it is, I apologize, guys. I didn't realize, how bad the lag was. Most of the time I'm clicking on other screens and I'm not even seeing myself in the camera. You guys are seeing me, down a little bit low, but I apologize if there's a lot of lag. Let me get back over to finish my thought on Polkadot. So I'm looking at Polkadot, and I think Polkadot would probably be a relatively good token to consider, maybe making one of these staggered moves with. If we do, let's go out to the 1 month chart on Polkadot. You can see here, like I said, way back, on November 4th, it was $3.77. And then just ever since November 5th, it's, kind of been on its way up. It went from, $4 to $5 or so on the 12th. So in about a week. But then when it really had this massive pump here on November 20th, it was sitting at 574. And then if you go to this peak here, it's only November 23rd when it's sitting at 864. And I think that peak is actually closer. It's more like almost $10 if I can get it, on there. I know it's over $9 on its way to $10 there just on November 23rd. So what this is telling me is that when it comes back, that this $6 range, $5 to $6 is probably about as low as it's going to go, in my opinion. And so from $8 down to, we just said that the first liquidation would be all the way down to 725 roughly. And then from there, it would be down into the, the 675 range. And then, with two more trades, you could get down into the $5 before this would get liquidated. So is that a good risk versus reward? That's for each and every one of you guys to, kind of decide on your own. But I'm kind of, liking that setup. But the other thing that I will say is that I'm really spending a lot of time listening to people that are smarter than me, listening to Crypto Lifer and his live stream. And I'm part of his, and now I'm in his trading group. So I get to see all of his calls. And I know that he shorted the market yesterday, made some pretty good money on some shorts. I wasn't really comfortable yet to do that. And I was a little bit behind. I didn't see the calls until it was a little too late. But I'm really trying to get a feel for, we're $93,000 Bitcoin right now. And I really don't like, even Crypto Lifer in his trading group said that right now he's just kind of in a holding pattern where he's not super, you don't have to be in a hurry. there's going to be another trade tomorrow and another trade the next day and another trade the next day. So one of my things is I'm enjoying this. And so like just taking a whole day off and not placing any trades, you know, kind of gets me a little bit wiggly. Like I want to be in action. I want to be doing something. It's like walking around a Las Vegas casino and saying, you know what, the casino is going to be there tomorrow. The blackjack tables are going to be there tomorrow. The slot machines are going to be there tomorrow. I'm just going to take today off. I'm not going to put $1 into anything. I'm just going to enjoy Las Vegas. And that can be pretty hard to do, even though you're right there in Las Vegas where you've got a million things that you could do that are enjoyable, that could be considered, you know, somewhat once in a lifetime experiences. And yet it still would be hard for a lot of us if you're just sitting right there in the middle of the casino to just not gamble at all for, you know, for a whole day or whatever. And so in some cases, it might even be 2, 3, 4 days that, you know, that we're in a holding pattern. And I guess that's part of what we're learning, the patience that is coming with what we are up to. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of trading today. I do kind of want to show those of you that are watching for the first time a little bit about my strategy and how it actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in. The other thing that you can do when you're not quite so sure about what's going on is you can always start off smaller. So on a lot of these trades, I do $100 backed by 100, backed by 100, backed by 100. I'll put $400 or $500 laddered down. You know, maybe I just do $25 or $50. And the thing is you can increase your bets on the way up too. There's nothing that says that if all of a sudden we have a reversal and Bitcoin's at 95, 96, 97,000, and the experts believe that, hey, we're going to go crush through 100 and get to 105,000. There's nothing that says you can't add to your positions on the way up. Too, you don't have to just stick with whatever amount of money that you started the trade with. So just to give you guys an idea, I coined it the Varnell trading method after my last name. Let's run in and we'll use Polkadot as the example because I do like Polkadot and I do think Polkadot's going to do some amazing things during this bull market. So let's get over to BYDFI again. And let's make a trade here. So we got BYDFI. I shared my screen. Looks like we're back over there. So folks, if you're on the BYDFI page, you've got some assets deposited and you want to do some trading, you're going to go to this derivatives tab and we're going to do USDT. We've clicked on, you know, I'm already there, but I'm going to do it again. You click on USDT. That's going to take you to this page that I was already pretty much on, but want to kind of show you. And it's always going to pull up Bitcoin. So you can see Bitcoin here kind of, you know, chopping around, consolidating. You know, that's something else too, folks, that these altcoins, if Bitcoin just kind of chops around between, say, like 91 and 95, up and down and back and forth, never really goes above 95, never really breaks below 91, that could be good for the altcoins because most of the time when Bitcoin starts just going sideways, a lot of times that's when the altcoins can do some massive, you know, some massive moves. So what we're going to do here, now that we're on this page, you want to go over to this tab that shows the Bitcoin / USDT. And when you hover over that, it'll bring up a page and then it'll bring up, you can see the search bar there. So there is about 200 different pairs there that you can long or you can short. So we're going to go in here and just type in DOT. And then you click on there where it says DOT. And then here, give it a moment. And hopefully DOT will load up for us. And it'll change over here on this side. I may have to refresh my screen. This is crazy. Like you see here where it shows $8.43, yet it's still showing Bitcoin's price at 93,000. I found that one of the ways I can get rid of that because my internet is lagging. One of the ways I can get rid of that is just by refreshing my screen. So bear with me while I refresh my screen for a second. When this loads back up, we should be all the way ready to do some Polkadot trading. Yeah, there we go. It looks like. Now we just need this to fill in here. So it looks like Polkadot is sitting at just over $8 and just a couple of cents. So I'm not going to, try to do anything crazy. You could put in a limit order at a little bit lower, but I'm just going to go with this 820 that's here, 8.020, or actually, no, it looks like it's all the way down to 8007, and this is not updating very well. I feel bad for BYDFI. It is not BYDFI's fault. So I'm going to just go all the way down here. So now it's showing at 8012. And then that looks like it's updated. So we're right. I'm going to click on 8010. That's a nice round number. And then we're going to come up here. I got to try to, so I've got way too much money in there. So the other thing I'm going to do, folks, to make this easier on myself is I'm going to get rid of some of that money so that I can do this a little bit without having to think as much. So by getting rid of, let me see, we've got 3,814 there. We want to get rid of, say, 37 of it. So I'm going to transfer 3,700 back over to my spot wallet. All right, so now we've got 114 bucks here. We got it at about 8004. So I will go ahead and click on that, make it slightly lower, 8004. And now we're going to do 25%. So we know that 25% is just slightly over 25 bucks. So we don't have to do anything major. We're going to, well, it didn't look, is that a 10X long? Excuse me. So one of the things that's important is to always check your leverage. Yeah, so it's isolated and 10X. That's what we want. We want isolated. So we got isolated and we want 10X. If you wanted to do lower leverage or higher leverage, you could. We're just going to do 10X. And now it's 8.027. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and hit that and see if it executes. 8.004. All right, so it did not execute because it looks like we're up to 8.026. So my order is sitting here waiting to execute. If we click on this order page, it'll switch over here and it'll show that that order is kind of waiting for Polkadot to come back down to 8004. It's all the way up to 8023. So that's a different, that's a little bit of a different chunk. So I'm going to try to catch that. I'm just going to go to 8025 and do another 25% basically, which is going to be slightly less than $25 now, but not that big of a deal. And we're going to confirm. And let's see where we're at here. So there we go. We've got one position in. Here it is. And then we've got the other position. Now I'm going to get rid of this position because it's nowhere near low enough. I don't want to mess with, it executing. It wouldn't be the end of the world if it dropped down and executed real quick. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that because I want you guys to see, if we go back over here to the positions page, I want you to be able to see the math. So we got into this trade at just around $8. And sure enough, the liquidation price on it is $7.27. So now what I'm going to come and do, I'm going to come back over here and we're going to go to, we want to do a slightly higher in case it wicks down hard. We're going to do $7.35 is going to be the next trade. And we've got $93, so we want to do just slightly more than we did the first time. I'm going to say instead of 25%, we're going to do, say, 30% on this second one. And we're going to hit that in there and confirm it. All right. So if Polkadot runs all the way down from $8 to $7.35, we're going to have this order that executes at this price at $7.35, that's going to execute. And now if you want to do it, roughly one more time, I pull out, my calculator so that I can do, relatively, be a little bit more accurate. So if we do 735, I don't want to pay for this calculator. So we do $7.35 times 10%. That's going to be 73.5 cents minus 7.5 0.35 takes us down to $66.61.5. Now, it's going to be slightly higher than that because, once again, like I said, now we've got $55, $60 in this trade. So to be safe, I'm going to go up to about $6.75 to be safe. And I'm going to just place another trade here. So we're at 7.35 there. We're going to go to $6.75. And then we're going to do roughly half of this. So this is $65 that we have left. So in order to, continue to ladder in and, protect ourselves, we're going to do, I say we're going to do more like, let's do 40% of that. And then hit the long button, hit the confirm button. And as you guys can see here, now we've got 2 orders and we're all the way down. Our liquidation price at that point, if you take 6.61 times 10%, that takes you about 66 cents minus 6.61, takes you down to about $5.95. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my last trade in here at about $6.05 just to be safe. And I'll just do the rest. This remaining $40 is going to go into that trade. Going to hit the long. And we're going to confirm. And so here we go, folks. Now, if I wanted to do that on Matic, Polygon, or Solana, like maybe I got 4 or 5 coins, and I probably will do some more of this off the stream. I'm going to go take a look. So I think that Polygon is another token that is got some room to run. XRP and ADA, something that I didn't talk about yet today was the fact that there is some possibility that we're going to end up with some tokens that are exempt from taxes. The new administration is talking about American-made cryptocurrencies being exempt from taxes. And folks, if that ends up happening, that's going to be huge for the companies like XRP and XLM, XRP, ADA, and a handful of others that were created and were founded by, people in the United States. That could potentially be huge for those tokens if that rumor ends up being true. On the flip side, if that ends up not happening, you want to keep an eye on your positions. And if you hear rumors that, hey, that ain't happening, that could create a little bit of a downswing in those tokens. So you want to be careful. But some of those tokens, that's part of the reason that I want to do, some of those tokens. So as you can see, though, we're in here. We're in like Flynn. If we go over here to our position, you can see that, since we've done this at $8, Polkadot has ran down to $7.94. That's okay. I was mentioning it on last Tuesday's live stream. This $25 trade can make me a lot of money. I'm going to click back over and show that to you. But if a couple of these stop losses actually hit, and as long as I don't get liquidated, I'm actually in better position if Polkadot ran down to $6. Like, I'm only putting in $25, $30, $40 at a time. So if Polkadot gets down to, $6.25, I'm going to go throw another $100 into BYDFI and be ready to put a couple more buy orders in even lower. Like, I'm not going to, if this thing ran all the way down to $3.50, it ain't getting liquidated, because I know my plan ahead of time. And so you want to make sure that you've got funds. Don't ever put every chip you got on the table into these trades. You want to have a little bit of backup in case it runs down, because let me go back here real quick and show you the reason that I think this is so powerful. I want you guys to see this and really understand it. So if we go over here to the position, this take profit button, my belief is Polkadot is going to be a $25 token, absolutely 1,000% at some point in time in this bull market. And I also believe that it's really probably going to go up much higher than that. But if we go to the take profit price here and we put in 25, that's $25. That means this $25 trade that we've got in there is going to make us $443. That's a 16x. And one of the reasons, again, that we're doing this, and I'm talking about this, is because for those of you out there that have tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in the market, you're going to do this on a much bigger scale. You could still take a portion. If you got 100 grand lying around, you could take 10 grand and you could probably 20, 30, 40, 50x your 10 grand with this strategy and turn 10 grand potentially into 250 to 500 to even potentially even $1 million. Because look at this, folks, that's a 16x on $25. Let's say that it got back up to its previous all-time high, which I want to say is $54. If it got back up to its previous all-time high, that $25 turns into $1,200. So if my math is correct, what's 10 times 25 is 250, 20, 30 times 25 would take you to 750, so 40. So that's a little over a 40x right there. So if you were doing this with, you know, $1,000, you'd be looking to potentially turn $1,000 into over 40 grand. But the reason I don't mind if it gets stopped out is, let's say that this first trade of mine here at $7.72, 735 hits. Well, now I've got $55 in the market, and my cost basis, instead of being just over $8, is going to be more like the halfway in between 735 and 8 is with what, about 30 something cents. So call it, you know, is going to be at like 765, 770 instead of 8. And every time it comes down, I get more money into the trade at a lower cost basis. So let's say that this hit, all three of these hit, and it got all the way down to $6.05. And the last trade hit, I would have $114 in this trade. And say I would be at an average of, you know, call it, say, $6.75. Well, I can't do the exact the exact math, but in a way, let's do this. So we take profit stop loss. So you can click on this right here. And let's just show you on this trade at $6.05. Now it's only showing this as like a $40 trade, but we know that by this time we'll have more like $114 in it. But look at, if it hits this one and it goes, then it pops up to $25. That takes us all the way up to $1,214, but that's based on the $40. And we know that we're going to actually have over $100 in it. So it's going to be multiple times that. It's going to be more like, you know, say 2,500, 3,000, 3,500. And if we're to go back up to its all-time high of $54, you're looking at $3 grand, and that's just on the 40. So once again, this $100 trade is really going to turn into probably more like 5, 6, 7 grand if it came down and all of those buys happened. And that's why once it happened, I would also go in and ladder in a couple more trades. And let me be clear on something, folks. So the reason that I really like this is there's a lot of traders out there that they just do a stop loss. So they would do, you know, say they put in this trade at $8 and they want to lower their risk. So they take, you know, you get only got a 10% liquidation price at 10x leverage. So they don't want to lose their whole $100, say, or their whole $1,000. So they go in, they place this trade at $8, and then they put in a stop loss at, say, $7.90. So they're only going to lose 10 or 15% of whatever funds they put into the trade. The trouble with that is when it comes down, as you saw, it's already down to $7.87. When it comes down, they're stopped out and they've lost 100% of that money. Now, I know that they can go in, they can make another trade, but if they make another $100 trade, they still only have $100 in the trade. Where the way that I'm doing it staggered in like this, I'm going to end up with multiple hundreds. If I started with 100, I would end up with $400 or $500 in the trade. And so when it does decide that it's bottomed out and it wants to head back up, I'm going to make a lot more money on the way up. The other thing is I don't have that stress of having to watch it like a hawk. And if it liquidates, then I got to go in and figure out, okay, is it going up? Is it going down? Do I want to place another trade now? Do I want to wait for it to go down a little bit lower? I have to be around my computer. I got to put the trade in. I got to do everything. Right now, I can just set it and forget it. Like I could literally go in when this stream is over, or even on the stream. I'm not going to do it on the stream, but I could do it when this stream is over. I could go in and like, so VeChain, Polygon, Cardano, Ripple, ICP, Caspa, Chainlink. Those are a handful of tokens that I'm looking to, employ this strategy on. But I could go in and I could literally set up all of these trades in a matter of, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I could go in and do these staggered trades on 4 or 5 different tokens, and then I could just go enjoy life. I want to keep a little bit of an eye on things. I want to make an alert. So like if Polkadot it's at $7.87, that's nothing. But maybe I create an alert where I get alerted if it dropped down to say $7. That would have liquidated, or not liquidated, but that would have put in 2 more of my trades in play. So at that point, I might want to keep an eye on it and maybe go throw another $30, $40, $50 in BYDFI and set up, another trade or two. I would be willing to guess that this probably is not going to come down and hit any of my trades. Very likely. It wouldn't surprise me if we get a bounce, if Bitcoin runs back up. We've got Thanksgiving. This is inherently usually a good time of the year for crypto. It wouldn't surprise me if we still hit $100,000 Bitcoin near or on Thanksgiving, or right in that ballpark. So if I had to lean, if this thing is going to run from 93 down to 91 or 88, or is it going to run back up to 95, 96, 97, 98? My bet is that it's going to probably it's going to bounce and head back up in the right direction. And so with that, folks, that's the other reason I'm pretty comfortable putting these trades in. And especially, like I said, lower amounts of money. Right there, I just threw 114 at it instead of the normal 400 or 500 that I might be throwing at it. And then if I get confirmation, if all of a sudden, this thing is up at $8.50, $9, and it really looks like it's going to head back up to 10 or beyond, I can still ladder a trade in or two on the way up. And I still have, if I'm wrong and it starts to come back down, I still got all of my plays there. So, with that, folks, we didn't go for 2 hours today, but I'm pretty comfortable with, what we did talk about today. Hopefully you guys got some good value out of it. Does anybody that's watching have any questions or comments? Or do you have any tokens that you would like me to take a look at? If there's anybody here that's kind of liking what I'm saying, you've got your BYDFI account set up, you're looking to potentially make some trades, and you would like me to take kind of a look at a coin and give you my opinion on what I think is the most likely scenario to play out, I'm happy to run over to CoinGecko and check out a couple more tokens. I'm in no hurry. I didn't schedule any appointments today, so I've got as long as you guys have got. While I'm waiting for the chat to catch up, I just want to say thank you, Georgios, for being here, man. I appreciate you. If you're still on the stream, I appreciate you being here, and I do appreciate the constructive criticism. I agree. You guys have the ability to watch, 100 other YouTubers, and if I expect you to come spend an hour or two with me, I'm gonna have to get an upgrade, get something going. So I've even been looking into. I think I can just get a webcam, but once again, with a webcam, it's still kind of dependent a little bit upon my internet. So I think there's a couple of things that I'm looking at. One, I'm looking at buying a brand new computer. I think that I've got some things in place. I might have one coming from my wife for Christmas. So I'm hoping to upgrade to a brand new computer that has a lot more RAM, a lot more storage, a lot more powerful computer. And that could potentially solve the issue also. So we are thinking about it here. I've also got a new camera that I'm looking to buy. Once again, that goes in behind. Once again, like when you're looking at all of my deep dive videos, part of the reason that they look so good is we're using that other camera. We don't use that camera on these live streams. And so I am looking at doing that, though, having a second camera that's totally disconnected from the computer that we end up doing these live streams and stuff on. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you. I don't recognize your name. So if you're new to the channel, then, thank you very much for watching. And, with that, folks, unless my computer is lagging, I'm not seeing any new comments, any questions, or any tokens that you guys want me to take a peek at. Looks like Polkadot just ran all the way, it's back up to 792. So like I say, with these trades, I can go set up a handful of trades and kind of set it and forget it. And that's the other reason for this strategy, folks. I don't want to have to sit in front of my computer. Like you guys probably don't want to either. If especially you got full-time jobs, you got wives, you got kids, you got husbands, whatever. Like, I love Sam Price. I love Crypto Lifer. He is one of the absolute best in the game, no doubt about it. He also sacrifices. He puts in hours and hours and hours and hours every single day doing what he does. And that's incredible. I love it. But I also love being able to learn from him and take some of his ideas and implement them without having to spend, the 15 years and 8, 10, 12 hours a day that he's putting into the charts. So my strategy here is kind of a set it and forget it to a certain extent where, we don't really care. This is money that you don't care about for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, even maybe 6 months. Most of these trades, you probably will do something with them before that happens. But literally, if Polkadot just bounces around and doesn't do anything for the next month, as long as I don't get liquidated, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do for the next couple of months. My goal, as I showed you, I think that Polkadot's going to be at least a $25 token. So for the most part, I don't want to mess with these trades until Polkadot gets up there in the vicinity of where I think it is going to go. And I mentioned it on some of the other live streams. When Polkadot gets close to 25 bucks, I'm probably not going to cash out the trade. I'm probably going to potentially move my stop loss up to guarantee some significant profits, but then I'm just going to let it run and hope that I can get it to get all the way up to $50 Polkadot, $75 Polkadot. And if my buddy's right, if some of the people that are incredibly bullish and Bitcoin gets up to 5, 6, 7, 800,000, man, Polkadot is probably going to be $150, $200 token. And so that little $25 trade is, let's just go look at it real quick. I know I keep saying that we're going to get off of here, but I'm curious. I think $200 is a ridiculous amount for Polkadot. Probably isn't going to happen. But is it impossible? Absolutely not impossible. So let's go over here and just see what this crummy little $25 trade would be. Actually, it's only $21. The way that I did it, to start off with, I only got $21 into this trade. So at $200 Polkadot, $5,000 off of 21 bucks at $200 Polkadot. Turn a $20 bill into $5,000, folks. That's crazy. But it also goes back to show you, like I said, if you're somebody that has a little bit more limited funds and you're worried that the money that you have to invest in crypto is not going to get you to where you want to be by the end of this bull market, these little small trades, 20 here, 30 there, 50 here, 25 there, can give you the option. How many $20 bills do you need to turn into $5,000 in order to have a pretty significant change in your net worth over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months? Not very many. So with that, folks, thank you all for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the microcap Microcap Wednesday live stream. And folks, once again, go click that link. I'm going to get it into the description right away too, but go get your BYDFI account and join us on this trading bonus schedule that we have, where you can make, be one of the top 5 traders and earn yourself a little extra cash. Plus you get in on the $8,100 bonuses that BYDFI is, giving to all new users. So with that, God bless, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.